Hawkman, DC's most confusing superhero who is an alien prince, origin explained. M. Night Shyamalan gets a lot of flack for some of his creative devices, but say what you will about the man, at least the twists and turns his films take are completely intentional. Just look at Split, arguably the best recognized work of Shyamalan's prolific career. The movie's focal point is a man suffering from dissociative identity disorder that is so intense he has to juggle between 24 personalities at all times just to be able to function. But while Kevin Crumb's fractured personal history and receding sense of identity can be chalked up to his mental health issues, DC has no such excuse for doing Hawkman dirty. Debuting in Flash Comics issue number 1 and created by Gardner and Dennis Neville, Carter Hall's origins have changed so much since he first appeared in 1940 that he might as well be seeing the same therapist as Kevin. Hawkman is notorious for having the most convoluted backstory in DC history thanks to trigger-happy attitudes towards reboots. Still, he's one of the coolest or douchiest, take your pick, golden age superheroes of all time. And with the latest Black Adam trailer showing off Aldis Hodge's glorious metallic wings in full extension, we can't wait to see Hawkman in action. We're going to break down everything about DC's most confusing superhero. This is Hawkman's Origins Explained. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Hawkman? Well, technically there is no one person who can call himself Hawkman, though it wasn't always this way. The first person to don that mantle on the pages of DC Comics was an archaeologist and scientist who went by the name Carter Hall. Hall was a museum curator by profession and worked with ancient Egyptian artifacts primarily. One of those artifacts happened to be a dagger made from a mysterious element classified by scientists as the Nth Metal. Though he had been personally handling ancient weaponry and priceless exhibits for years, nothing could have prepared Hall for what happened next. When he touched the dagger, it sent him into a trance-like state that showed him his history, but not the one you're thinking of. Millennia ago, during the reign of Ramses II, there lived a prince who had come into contact with a strange material that crash-landed on his land from the heavens. The prince and his lover would be kidnapped by his mortal enemy, Hatset, an ancient priest and sorcerer. Using a dagger fashioned from the same mystery element that was found at the crash site, Hatset murdered his adversaries in cold blood. But neither party was aware of the mystical nature of the dagger's material, and all three parties would be subjected to a reincarnation curse that would dog them for centuries to come. Hatset's eternal task was to ensure that every time he was reborn on Earth, he would seek out and eliminate the reincarnations of his centuries-old victims, Shiara and her prince Khufu Qatar. Carter Hall was the reincarnation of the prince, and his lover Shiera was the reincarnation of his immortal soulmate, and Dr. Anton Haster was the 1940s version of the malevolent Hatset. Using this knowledge to his advantage, Hall fashioned a belt and a wingsuit from the Nth Metal that was used to forge the blade that killed him all those years ago, and became the crime-fighting superhero Hawkman. As Hawkman, Carter Hall's first action was to apprehend Hastor and prevent him from fulfilling his destiny. Hawkman would then go on to fight evil alongside his lover/partner Hawkgirl and the Justice Society of America, eventually becoming the JSA's permanent chairman. The first incarnation of Hawkman would retire from superhero duties after being active for over a decade and eventually have a child with Shiera. During the Silver Age of comics, a new Hawkman would emerge from the distant planet of Thanagar, the origin point of the spaceship that crash-landed on Earth all those years ago and was founded by Prince Khufu Qatar. Qatar Hall was an imperial prince of Thanagar and the son of Paran Qatar, a renowned inventor and ornithologist. When Thanagar came under attack from invading manhawks, Qatar was charged with infiltrating their nests and bringing back information that could help them turn the tide in their favor. With the information he'd gathered, Qatar Hall fashioned a wingsuit from his planet's native element, Nth Metal, and became the new Hawkman. Hall was a champion of Thanagar and one of the most prominent members of the Hawk Police. He, alongside with his companion Shiera, were sent to Earth on a diplomatic mission, but ended up staying there in order to research better ways of policing for Thanagar. Here they became the crime-fighting duo known as Hawkman and Hawkgirl, later Hawkwoman. During the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, when Earth 1 and Earth 2 were merged together, Hawkman's story found itself in a state of constant flux. For decades, fans were left wondering which Hawkman was the true Hawkman and what exactly was the deal with the whole reincarnation thing anyway. Scott Snyder's run with DC helped simplify things for us by revealing that Carter Hall's history as Prince Khufu was the one that was real. Hall had been reincarnating on Earth alongside Shiera for centuries. And with Hawkman Volume 5, Brian Hitch and Robert Venditti managed to explain how Carter Hall and Kator Hall were linked to each other. Turns out, Carter Hall hasn't been reincarnating simply across time, he's been reincarnating across space as well. There have been hundreds of incarnations of Hawkman across the DC multiverse. Kator Hall was the chosen one for the planet Thanagar. There were others as well, Hawkmen from Ron, Krypton, and even universes beyond the positive one. Thanks to Hitch and Venditti, we can now clearly state that there isn't one person known definitively as Hawkman. Instead, it is a spiritual mantle that is taken on by every reincarnation of a being who existed when the multiverse was in its infancy. Carter Hall and Kator Hall are just the two most prominent names to emerge from that pantheon. Now that we've solved the mystery of who he is, let's look at how he does what he does, specifically the element that is practically sewn into his identity. What is the Nth Metal that Hawkman has? The Nth Metal is an interdimensional element that is intrinsically linked to Hawkman's aeon-spanning legacy. Originally, it was believed to have originated on the planet Thanagar. The ancient wizard Nabu had prophesied that an alien being would soon crash land in Egypt and bring with them a force capable of great creation and destruction. When it came to pass, Prince Khufu Katar's entourage encountered a mortally wounded Thanagarian pilot trying to survive the wreckage. With her dying breath, she uttered the words that would become the very basis for Hawkman's abilities. Nth Metal is one of the strongest elements in the DC universe, and its full abilities haven't even been revealed yet. This versatile substance can take the shape of anything that its user imagines and form a symbiotic relationship with its wielder. Nth Metal is capable of nullifying gravity itself, which is what gives Hawkman the power of flight. It protects its wearer from all environments except the truly inhospitable, from the Sahara Desert to the vacuum of space. Hall could spread his wings wherever he wishes to. It also imbues its user with enhanced strength, durability, and a ridiculously powerful healing factor that can restore severed limbs. Nth Metal negates all magical attacks, significantly weakens psionic attacks, and can store large amounts of energy, making projection-based offense practically useless against Hawkman. It also makes him effectively immortal and is the reason for his space-time bending existence. For a long time, it was assumed that since it was available in abundance on Thanagar, it must be native to the planet. That perception was shattered when Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo kicked off their DC-altering Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal series. It was revealed that even though Nth Metal was seemingly everywhere in Thanagar, it was mined from the Dark Multiverse. In his quest to dominate every multiverse in existence, the malevolent bat god Barbados took a piece of the perfection that is Element X and then sent it hurtling through the timeline back to the very dawn of time. Somehow this shard of metal crash-landed on Thanagar and it became the legend it is today. Since Nth Metal originated from the Dark Multiverse, it is the only material that could cause physical damage to its denizens, a crucial factor in battling Barbados and his Dark Knights. The Dark Multiverse version of the metal lives up to its source's nature. It grants its users cosmic awareness, allowing them to peer beyond the veil of reality and understand who a person is at their very core, allowing them to manipulate actions to whatever ends they deem fit. It also allows interdimensional travel, which is how Barbados invaded the Prime Universe in the first place. All these features put Nth Metal a cut above vibranium, adamantium, and even Element X, making it easily the most OP element in comic book history in our eyes.
Batman, don't make this any more difficult than it has to be.
Hawkman's major story arcs. Hawkman was a featured JSA character for much of the Golden and Silver Ages and is tangled with evil on both Thanagar and Earth for centuries. Some of the most notable early Hawkman story arcs include him meeting Adam Strange, an inhabitant of Thanagar's sworn enemies, the inhabitants of Ron. Hawkman and Strange have used their camaraderie to end multiple conflicts between their respective homeworlds over the years. Another notable storyline would be the Shadow War of Hawkman, most recognized for introducing the rarely talked about third Hawkman, Fel-Andar. During this storyline, it was revealed that the Hawkman who had been working with the JSA after Hall came out of retirement was in fact an imposter sent from Thanagar. When Hawkman and Hawkgirl refused to side with their homeworld in their expansionist campaigns, Thanagarians decided their expatriates need to be taught a lesson. They sent Fel-Andar to Earth to disguise himself as Hawkman and open the doors to a global invasion. While the plan was put into motion, it didn't succeed, and Fel-Andar hasn't been heard from since. In the post-crisis continuity, one of the key storylines to feature this iconic character was Hawkworld. It reset Hawkman's origins and transformed him from an uppity aristocratic conservative to a moral crusader. It's this moral alignment that DC has chosen to continue with for future titles. After the events of Zero Hour, every version of Hawkman was merged into one, becoming the Hawk God, a mentally unstable supreme being type figure who had to be banished to limbo in order to stop his mindless rampaging. This is where Kator Hol was written out of continuity, as it was explained that his consciousness dissipated in limbo alongside the Hawk Gods. In more recent times, Hawkman has become a much more crucial member of the DC universe. He was killed during the events of The Brightest Day by the life entity possessed Alec Holland as part of a 12-labor process that would see humanity expunged from Necron's last remaining soldier, Black Lantern Swamp Thing. Carter Hall's journal served as a guide for the DC audience and Wonder Woman during the events of Metal and Nth Metal. It was Hawkman's journal that held the key to unlocking the Omniverse, but that might not have been such a good idea. Carter Hall's most recent adventures have brought him closer to understanding his true nature, and the realization is terrifying. Hawkman Volume 5 revealed that Prince Khufu, Kator Hol, Carter Hall were all reincarnations of a cursed primordial entity. Millions of years ago, there existed a tribe of malevolent beings known as the Deathbringers, a race of winged humanoid aliens who cut a swathe through the galaxy in an effort to summon the Lord of the Void. Carter Hall used to be Kater Deathbringer, a ruthless genocide-friendly fanatic who slaughtered millions on every planet he stepped foot on. After centuries of service, Kater saw the fault in his ways and tried to break away from the Deathbringers, but was cursed to be reincarnated on every planet where he had spilled innocent blood for an eternity. This is the very true origin of Hawkman, and one of the best storylines to feature the winged hero in a very, very long time. What makes Hawkman so powerful? You mean besides the Nth Metal? Well, a lot of things. While it's true that most of his insane reality warping abilities have been married to his genetic code in a ceremony staged by the Nth Metal, they wouldn't be half as dangerous in someone else's hands. In Carter Hall's hands, they're the wings of death. Hawkman is a superhero for whom morality doesn't necessarily equate to leniency. There have been several occasions where Hawkman has chosen to let his victims die or actively participated in the act himself. Unlike Batman, he does not waver from taking a life when it can benefit the Omniverse at large, and it's his rigid determination to dispense justice that makes him such a threat. Carter Hall can speak millions of languages and possesses the scientific knowledge of 1,000 different worlds, making him one of the smartest people on Earth. While he prefers to use maces as opposed to sniper rifles, it is because he has perfected the use of archaic weapons, having spent many of his lifetimes in pre-modern conditions. Hawkman is extremely proficient in the use of melee and range weapons that harken back to the Dark Ages. And besides, blunt force trauma isn't his signature attack style. That would be a bolt of lightning so intense it could level a moon if Hall tried hard enough. With literal centuries of combat experience, Hawkman is one of the deadliest strategists and fighters in DC history and is the ideal blend of brains and brawn, neatly packaged in shimmering, golden-hued wings. Marvelous versions of Hawkman in various forms of media. Despite being one of the most confusing characters that DC has ever created, Hawkman has continually found himself being featured in multiple mainstream adaptations of the Justice League's adventures. The Kator Hol version of Hawkman has been immortalized in animation thanks to the myriad of DC-themed TV shows he's been featured in. Kator Hol's Hawkman appeared in at least 6 animated Super Friends titles, and was also heavily featured in Young Justice, as well as a couple of Batman's animated TV shows. A character loosely based on the Kator Hol, called Hero Talak, appeared in the Justice League's 3-part episode Starcrossed, voiced by Victor Rivers. While Carter Hall has also received his fair share of animated appreciation, he's had far more exposure to a conventional TV audience. He has been a highlight of the CW DC-verse, appearing across Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. This version of Carter Hall looks like the Scott Snyder version of the character, as he remembers 5,000 years of his life, while his counterpart/lover remembers not. Hall was also featured in Smallville, Stargirl, and a 1997 Baby Ruth commercial, not the baseball player, the chocolate. But despite all these appearances, Hawkman has never reared his head in a proper DC movie. At least that's changing this year. Black Adam producer teases fight with Hawkman. During his reign as a High Prince of Egypt, Khufu Qatar was always accompanied by one person, his sworn shield, Nth Adam. However, due to the unfortunate circumstances, betrayals, and a spell gone wrong, Khufu's former protector turned into a ruthless avenger. Upon his death, his evil deeds had made people forget his actual first name, and his sarcophagus referred to him as Black Adam. Producer Hiram Garcia has been making the rounds promoting the film, and the one thing even he can't help but be excited about is the eventual encounter between Black Adam and Hawkman. In an interview with CBR, he spoke extremely high of Aldis Hodge, the man who's been playing Carter Hall in the upcoming DCEU film, saying Aldis Hodge is so amazing as Hawkman and just brings a weight and an energy to this character that, if you're a fan of Hawkman, you know his history, that he has lived many lifetimes to bring a real nuance to the way Aldis plays him. He followed it up by teasing just how hard-hitting Hodge's portrayal will be when he lets slip that the way him and Black Adam will go at each other is going to be a lot of fun for fans to see. If the trailer is anything to go by, we're already sold on his claims. Now, all we could do is wait for July 29th to finally arrive so we could see if they're actually living up to the hype. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
I know the truth. We're the reincarnations of Qatar and Shayera Hall, and I love you.